Hi everyone, and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of January 13, 2020. First, let's quickly recap predictions for the previous week. I made a prediction that the market will be going down pretty much every day of the previous week, and it went down on 2 days of the week. On Monday, it actually initially went down as low as 200 points for Dow Jones, but then it had recovered. Other predictions I made were, of course, about important leaders passing away and geopolitical tensions and increase in seismic activity. We did have increase in major earthquakes in Puerto Rico. We also have the volcano eruption in Philippines, and this Taal volcano is worth mentioning because I guess the situation is ongoing and I think it indeed has a potential for a major eruption. And also it's worth mentioning that this is one of the 16th so-called decade volcanoes, which actually have special status because their eruption in the past, they have been known to cause large damage, and of course their potential for damage because of their location is quite high. We also had news about tragic shooting down of the Ukrainian airliner over Iran, the place where we have continuing tensions due to, in part, basically one of their military important commanders being killed the week before. And in the same area, in Oman, we had Sultan Qaboos that was rather 79 years old and was in power for 50 years, and that person had passed away without the heir, and they used to be, I guess, an important key political figure in the area, and they would serve, I guess, to sort of mitigate the relationship with Iran and other countries. So I guess that whole area experienced some tensions, and as I mentioned before, where we have sort of tensions in January, especially last week, we may expect increased tensions and situations kind of escalating again in March. So sometime between end of February into early April, there might be some follow-up events in the areas that have been triggered, like say Puerto Rico, Philippines, and of course the whole Iran area. There was also some news about number one, I guess, person in player in badminton, I guess this was today on the 13th of January, that they had been killed in a car crash. And also there were some interesting news about, I guess, an erroneous notification from the nuclear power plant in Canada. And while the incident that was initially reported was not, was reported in air, but the fact that we have this happening under tight Pluto and Saturn conjunction is noteworthy because, again, Pluto and Saturn conjunction exactly the signature that you would expect, where we have, problems with, say, nuclear power plants. And because that area, even though it was just an accident, rather error in the reporting of that, accident that didn't occur, I would look out again of that area being affected again come March. As far as there's also increased news in the US about bad weather, including tornadoes and rainfalls and snowstorms, killing 11 people, leaving hundreds of thousands without power. And also, of course, this is a continuous situation. Over 1,000 flights were canceled, and millions of people in 7 US states are continuing sort of to but rather be on a lookout for the bad weather coming their way. And indeed, this may be a large, snowstorm or something like that may affect them. And again, the aspects that are in place, transits are continuing to be difficult and definitely may lead to major sort of negative developments affecting large groups of people, including weather and transportation delays. We also had some news from China about the first man passing away there due to being infected with this new pathogen that supposedly is the new type of coronavirus, and there are concerns about potentially new SARS-like outbreak brewing there. And indeed, under the Pluto and Saturn conjunction, it is definitely quite possible that we may have some sort of new epidemic on our hands, and that is something definitely to look out for. And this may again develop, and there might be additional news coming up out of China both this week but also continuing into March especially. And on the positive side, I guess, or as in like something that's not, a disaster, at least not at the moment, there was an announcement by Russia and Turkey that they have launched Turk Stream gas pipeline. And this is indeed, again, something that's a good sort of fitting manifestation of Saturn and Pluto conjunction, because again, this is a signature for large infrastructure projects that are very transformative for both environment, for better or worse, and or geopolitically. At the same time, because of the chart, sort of this launch is being so like important and isn't like tense with transits, it is definitely going to be a chart that will be most likely susceptible to when important and tense transits, occur in the future to this chart. And so this is the sort of infrastructure project that may experience additional sort of tensions around it, or even accidents moving forward. The soonest that might happen, I would say it would be sometime around March again of this year, but even in the future years, whenever we have, say, square of in a few years from now of, say, Saturn to that point where it was launched, there may be some geopolitical tensions around it, or earthquakes that may damage it, or something along those lines. Let's see. And so moving on to the predictions for this week, the ongoing background influence is kind of continuing to be in place. It will continue to be in place for several weeks at least, if not months to come. So ongoing probability is high of major earthquakes, disasters, mudslides, important people, leaders passing away, etc. Especially for this week, the 13th and the 14th are the dates to look for in that. And horoscopes in China and US as well as Japan are affected as far as places where we may expect additional earthquakes and or some problems to occur, both in terms of just negotiations between the countries, but also some actual like accidents, etc. This week also there will be increased focus on companies or projects related to mining, coal, steel, minerals, any sort of issues that occur underground, be it because that they're hidden, like spying or hacking, or because there literally is a construction underground project, waste management, some sort of a storage facility, mines, tunnels, something that's going through the mountains, or trash removal businesses, waste management businesses, recycling businesses, etc. So they may experience either changes in leadership or announcement of some projects ending, beginning, lack of scarcity of some product or resource or equipment, and or something, either project or a structure may reach a critical point and either break or be in like urgent need of some repair or transformation. So for example, like a old power plant, especially a nuclear power plant, may be announced that it needs to be either basically shut down, or something that needs to be immediately repaired, or basically bad things may happen, or like a mine may be shut down, or is maybe announced that it needs major repairs. Significant week for China, and the particular areas that may be affected are relate to oil, chemicals, navy, water pollution, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, infectious diseases, any sort of hidden activity, lies, deception, religion, movies, music, beverages, poisons, and drugs. These are the areas that will be also continue to be sort of in focus for months to come, especially, like I said, next bout of it may be in sometime in March, but this week particularly may see some specific events or situations that may spike. Again, could be related to this infectious disease, or it could be something along the lines of like important pollutant or drug or chemical is found to be more powerful or potent than expected, and it's spreading more than expected, and the situation may need to be basically immediately, some intervention may be necessary to put sort of a stop to that, remove it, maybe remove something from production, remove a chemical from distribution, or perhaps waste is being discovered that it's not being recycled properly and is polluting things more than expected, especially underground, in the water, underwater, and or something that previously been hidden. Again, some sort of problem that again relates to chemicals, oils, healthcare, now may need to be clarified, because again the issue may reach the point where things cannot remain hidden any longer, and they need to be clarified, kind of quantified, what exactly is the extent of the problem, and control needs to be implemented, and or something may need to be shut down or removed, or major transformation may need to occur. And let's see, for US, 12th through 16th of January, especially January 14th and 15th are quite important. There may be some important announcements about the country's goals or vision, or basically what the country wants to do that's good for it, as opposed to, say, for its partners. And so the tone in negotiations may become a little bit more sort of aggressive, assertive, and or there may be more reliance of military strength, or announcements may relate to military itself, and or there may be increased news about sports, so new programs, new star athletes, new achievements, and also the sort of ongoing background influence. We will have two that will begin this week and continue into mid-February, and that will relate both to US but also to oil. So I'm not sure if these two are related or they just will occur at the same time. So January 13th through February 2nd, especially January 23rd and 24th. For the US, there may be increased tensions in international negotiations and partnerships, and there may be some negative or stressful news, especially for the communication and transportation businesses, as well as businesses related to IT, high-tech, various gadgets like cars, media, airplanes, computers, telephones. So there may be either financial losses or earnings kind of less than expected, or there may be some delays, maybe due to strikes, bad weather, or lack of supplies, parts, some stalled production somewhere. And so there may be communication issues, tense negotiations, difficulty reaching agreements, and basically problems like that. So perhaps, if there's bad weather, again, there may be outages, or if there's international tensions, there may be problems with, say, moving, parts or supplies from one area to another. And at the same time, these tensions may either coincide with or somehow be related to problems in tensions related to like oil, and in particularly there might be increased news about oil on the 26th through 28th of January, and I think on the 27th, which is Monday, we may hear about really like strong fluctuations in the price of oil, and most likely I think it will be up on the 27th, and this may coincide with strong moves in the market on the 27th and or 28th. So for example, there may be a big drop on the 27th followed by up on the 28th, or a drop could be 27th and 28th followed by an up move on the 29th. And then following these kind of tensions in both negotiations or partnership for US and problems with some of these companies that I just mentioned, or these areas of business, follow that, we will have then another couple week periods, so starting in approximately February 1st through approximately February 12th, where these tensions for the US now will escalate further, and or it just may be not necessarily the tensions that are escalating, but rather just some coinciding with maybe some attacks or explosions or fires or some accidents that again may involve these same businesses, and or if there are negotiations that are escalating, they may take even more aggressive tone at this time. And particularly I would pay attention to February 3rd or the 5th, then the 7th and the 9th. And at that time we may have escalation potentially of military activities, accidents, fires, explosions, and these may involve oil, navy, chemicals, poisons, and maybe even places of worship, etc. So there's, say, attack on a ship, attack on, again, place of worship, burning of oil or chemicals, and it could be, again, something like an underwater volcano erupts and it maybe starts fire or causes an accident on an oil rig. So it could be something just related to, natural causes, or it could be, due to, previous events where we start with escalation of tensions and negotiations, and then it leads to some sort of military standoff, and then it leads to attack on some, like I said, something like a ship or oil recycling facility or something like that, a refinery. And then, so let's move on to the specific days of the week. Pretty much made the prediction, and that's already posted on my blog at lastunka.com, that I think every day of the week will be a down day for the market. I'm actually recording this video on the 13th, so I saw that the market went actually up today. Nevertheless, I think for the most part, we have more sort of tense aspects, both in general and to horoscopes of China and US. So I think for the most part, things look, to me at least, down let's see, worth mentioning other days of the week for US. Wednesday, Thursday, January 15th and 16th may see increased and stressful news, most likely related to IT, telecoms, high-tech airplanes, aerospace, rockets, power plants, electric cars, etc. The news may be surprising or unexpected about some service disruptions, power outages, or even a sudden attack involving some rockets, drones, airplanes, problems with electric cars or airplanes, social media sites being down. However, at the same time, there may be positive news for, let's say, workforce, healthcare, or programs that are meant to kind of provide some social assistance. So in that case, there may be positive news for, say, some workers receiving greater compensation than before, healthcare costs being down, or maybe the jobless rate decreasing. So at the same time, there may also be positive news for some sort of animal welfare, maybe some improvement in veterinary products, or increased profit from either selling livestock or veterinary products. So this could be related to perhaps in some other country, they have some epidemic and they need to put down some animals, and so it improves situation for, say, farmers in the US, specifically related to the livestock. And for the 17th, globally, there may be some stressful news related to IT, telecoms, high-tech airplanes, aerospace, rockets, power plants, electric cars, AI projects, banks, finance, fintech, and cryptocurrencies. Again, there may be surprising news, disruptions, problems with communicating between partners, or hard times, I guess, difficulties reaching agreements, and or just power losses or some accidents due to high winds. And also the 17th is an important day for China, where there may be some important announcements about China's sort of goals and vision for the future, and that may involve AI, IT, high-tech, some projects that involve, again, some advanced technologies, telecoms, aerospace, power plants, electric cars, etc. And this is, again, will probably have to do with what China wants to achieve, or some new projects that they're starting to help sort of improve those areas. And let's see, also Friday and Saturday for US look like important dates where there may be increased focus on banks, finance, as well as agencies that are involved somehow with spying or crime investigations, as well as industries that have to do with mining, coal, nuclear power, and or recycling, waste management, etc. There we may hear about perhaps changes in the leadership, or some projects or goals being clarified, or maybe a project ends, or a power plant or something like that needs to be shut down, or something that basically involves either old established companies that are connected to government agencies perhaps, and or leaders from established corporations, especially, like I said, in that area, say mining or coal, and there may be change, like I said, in leadership, or some sort of change in project that these companies or those leaders are involved in. So that's about it from me for this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll come back and check me out next week. Until then, catch you guys later.